Yes,
Ronak,
sir.
it is okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I can hear you, and we are, viewing your screen also.
সব শোনা যাচ্ছে? আমার অডিও শোনা যাচ্ছে? আচ্ছা আচ্ছা, আগের দিন শুধু অ্যাক্রিডিটেশন পড়িয়েছিলাম তো?
হ্যাঁ
শুধু অ্যাক্রিডিটেশন হয়েছিল, আজকে তাহলে আউটকাম বেস এডুকেশন। হ্যাঁ
হ্যাঁ ঠিক
ঠিক আছে, সবাই জয়েন করে গেছে, শুরু করি। আচ্ছা, so it is okay, no? So good afternoon to all of you. Let's start. Okay, so today last day we talk about that accreditation, huh? Then today we talk about that outcome based learning. So what we say that in accreditation, it has to be implemented in classroom. So how do you ensure that accreditation is implemented in the classroom? So one way it is the accreditation define how to measure the quality of the program. Next way, how to implement this measure in classroom so that at the end we can say that whatever the quality required for the program is maintained in the classroom. One of the methods for implementing accreditation in classroom is called outcome-based learning. Maybe other methods may be there, like the good reputed program may not be accredited because that doesn't require the quality guarantee. Similarly, but if I want to objectively implement accreditation in the classroom, I have to go through outcome-based learning. What is outcome-based learning? Is it different? What is the difference of the present learning system and outcome-based learning system? So to understand the philosophy of outcome-based learning, let's talk about that. See that slide? I think so. So this picture, if you see, I just open the chat box so that anybody write anything, any problem you write on the chat so that I can see it. So in outcome-based education, this picture, what philosophy it is said that a girl standing on a junction of path, and he asks to the cat that which path he or she supposed to take. Then cat reply, where you want to go? Girl said, I don't know. Then cat said, take any path, doesn't matter. That means unless you define your destination or goal, then whatever path, whatever the learning methodology, learning process, whatever the examination syllabus you use, doesn't matter. So you have to define the goal. So outcome-based education says that the job of the teacher is to define the goal and help the student to reach the goal, not deliver the information in the class. So in outcome-based education, job of the teacher is change. The job of the teacher is to define the goal. Teachers will define the goal and provide the path to reach the goal. So teachers becomes mentor and guide of the students. So instead of teaching in the class, teachers has to act like a mentor and guide to the students to reach their desired goal. And also you have to define the goal as per the accreditation norms. So as per the accreditation, you define the minimum goal which is required to achieve by a BTech engineer, and teacher will help to reach the goal. Teacher acts as a mentor and guide. So once the goal is defined, it doesn't depend on a particular teacher to reach the goal. The student can go globally, anywhere, to find out that information and take that expertise from anywhere to reach the goal. So that's why teachers becomes a guide and mentor. So in outcome-based education, the role of the teacher is changed. So that's why it is called learner-centric. Who will reach the goal? Not teacher. Students will reach the goal. So that's why the goal is learner-oriented. This is why OBE is called learner-centric approach. Learner has to reach the goal. Teacher is only there to guide and mentor the students. That's why in OB it is said that it is not teacher to teach, it is the learner to learn. So learning is the learner responsibility, not teacher responsibility. Teacher is only there to guide and mentor the students to reach the goal. So teacher has a two jobs. First job, they have to define the goal. Second job, they have to provide the path, mentor and guide to reach the goal. So this is same as philosophy, earlier philosophy also. If you see that none of the, if you think about the gurus, none of the gurus said you to that I will take you to the God. Every guru will say that I will show you the path to reach the God. So you cannot, a teacher cannot say that I will teach you. Teacher can only say I will guide and mentor you to reach the goal. So it's a learner responsibility to reach the goal. Now these two things in OB, one is mentor and guide, one is define the goal. So this, how these two things will happen, that is the important issue. How do you define the goal? And is that goal is standard? Is that goal is maintain the minimum quality required for the program? So that is one aspect. Another aspect is how do you guide and mentor the students to reach the goal? So next, all lectures will be on these two philosophies. One is how to write the goal, how to define the goal as per the standards, and how to teach or mentor the students, or I can say how to guide and mentor the students so that students will reach the goal. And another one is that how do you evaluate the student has reached the goal? So three dimensions. Evaluation is also part of teaching learning process. So I have to evaluate whether the students has reached the goal. I have to define the goal, and I have to, you can say that, provide the path and guide to the student to reach the goal. Now, how do you define the goal? That has to be based on the standard quality. That's the requirement. Think about that there is two training schools. One is for motor training school. One training school written down that I will train the learner how gear work, how the clutch work, how the power steering work. And another school said that I'll train the trainer, I will train the learner to drive a car on the road. So if you see that there is a requirement that the purpose for the training in driving is to drive a car on the road, not how to know the gear work, how to know the power steering work. That is required, but those are not sufficient. So as per that norms, I have to define the sufficient requirement for a student. If I say the BTech civil engineering, so what is the skill set which is required by a BTech civil engineer, or minimum skill set required as per the accreditation parameter, so that he can declare him or declare him as a BTech civil engineer. So that's required the curriculum. That is required by the curriculum or accreditation document. Then what are the minimum quality required to declare a BTech engineer student skill based on the Washington records or NBA guidelines? So if you see that mostly the structure of the curriculum is like this, the slide which I said, that an institute has a mission and vision. Institute may be a department, act as an institute, department has a mission and vision. And overall institute has a mission and vision. So what is mission and vision of the institute, or what is the mission and vision of the department? How do you write them? In accreditation document, if you take 10 to 12 document, everybody writing that our mission is to, our vision or vision is to create industry ready engineer, good quality researcher. But how? So mission and vision of the institute depends on the institute capability or institute requirement. Suppose there is two institute. Institute A is created to produce manpower for local industry. So institute A mission vision mission cannot be, or vision cannot be that produce a high quality research engineer. So when you write down mission and vision of the department, you have to think about what you want to do. Is okay? I think sharing is gone. So if you see that, I'll show you what is mission and vision. So vision is a futuristic statement that the institute department would like to achieve over a long period of time. And mission is the statement or essential that means to achieve the vision. So let's forget about that writing. Come in here. So mission and vision of the institute depend on what kind of student institute want to produce. So if an institute A want to produce a high quality research engineer, then his vision will be to produce research engineer, and their curricula, their teaching staff, their laboratory setup will be completely different from the institute who want to produce an engineer for the local industry. So when you write down your institute mission and vision or departmental mission and vision, first you gather the data about last 5 years your employment statistics. Find out what are the potentiality your past students had. Are you satisfied with that potentiality, or where you want to do? Based on your resource, based on your geographical position, based on your requirement, you have to define your target. Only writing that I will produce a good quality engineer who will be doing a high-end research is not correct. It has to be supported by your resources. It has to be supported by your curriculum of your past employment records. So vision and mission statement. Vision, I want to be here, and mission, how I want to be here. So vision statement, depending on what kind of quality student you want to produce and how you want to produce, that is called mission and vision statement. Then every department has program educational outcome. Sometimes it is called program educational objective also. PEO. So PEO is the broad skill of your department program students. Suppose an institute A has a program called BTech CSE, Computer Science Engineering. Now my departmental, this program aim is to create engineer for local software industry. Then I cannot say that I will produce a research engineer. So I will create an industry ready, if it is application software industry ready engineer. I will show you one example on this next day. So how to write down that mission and vision statement and how to match with all those things. So your program, computer science program, if it is created for supply manpower for local industry, you have to write down that only. What are the skill is required. Similarly, your mission, if your department is produce an engineer for high-end research, then your program educational objective will be towards the high-end research. I'll show you one example program educational outcome or objective. Then it's come to the PO. So program educational outcome is the broad skill set which will produce by that program, and or you can, on the other hand, you can say, if it is learner centric, the broad skill set exists or develop on the pass out students. That is called program educational outcome. Then how do you fulfill the program educational outcome? How do you measure it? It is called PO, program outcome. So that is 12-dimensional measurement defined by Washington Records or NBA. Those are called PO, program outcome. That is the 12 dimensions. 5 are domain dependent and 7 are domain independent. So design ability, solving ability, synthesis ability, analyzing ability, testing ability, all are domain dependent. Rest 7, communication skill, teamwork, ethics, lifelong learning, all are domain independent. So those PO, when it is written for electronics department, then it is becomes PSO, program specific outcome. Program specific outcome add only one extra thing. That thing is that what is the strength of your program? If you say that Institute A offer a program on electronics, Institute B also offer a program on electronics. Now, as per the PO, the ability solving, design, analysis, all those ability, both the institute has. Let's both the institute produce an engineer for local industry. Then how they are different? They are different because Institute A electronics program may be much trained on microwave engineering. Institute B electronics program may be trained on VLSI design. So when you write PSO, program specific outcome, what is your program specific outcome? Your emphasis towards VLSI design. So write down one or two PSO that my program has those of the strength point. So PSO include 5 domain dependent PO along with emphasized version of your program, which part you are dominating. But those are the minimum quality required. Solving ability, design ability, analyzing ability, testing ability, synthesis ability. And others, what you are writing, design ability more towards microwave engineering. So that is PSO. Okay. Then PSO or PO, whatever I say, 12 dimensional things will be achieved by course, offering different course. So every course must have course outcome. Although the accreditation document required only course outcome, but if you want to implement NBA in classroom, course outcome is not sufficient when you want to teach in class. You have to develop the curriculum, entire course in outcome-based curricular design framework. I'll explain that later. So course outcome. So course outcome are the important major takeaway by the students from your course. So how do you write course outcome? It is a basic important issue. How to write course outcome? It is not that easy. You can write the course outcome in one go. So you have to understand what is course outcome and how to write course outcome. Course outcome are written using the principle of instructional system design. So you have to know, I think all of you know the Bloom's taxonomy or taxonomy of learning. So that is also an important topic when you want to write down the course outcome. Then evaluation. Teaching learning process and evaluation. So teaching learning process job is to guide and mentor the student to achieve the course outcome. So your course outcome is the goal. Then teaching learning process, maybe resource, tool. Suppose you are teaching a VLSI course, you require a VLSI software, simulation software. So those are the resources. And teaching learning process. Together will develop the course outcome. Course outcome not only develop the domain dependent skill, but also due to the teaching learning process, it will develop the domain independent skill also. So while you are teaching a VLSI design course, if your class is much more interactive, if your class, you provide an assignment to the students, if you encourage students to use different kind of tools, then you probably also developing their communication skill, teamwork, lifelong learning and ethics. So teaching learning process and course outcome together will map with PO. So when you done the CO-PO mapping, it is not only course outcome map with your PO, but also every course outcome also contribute towards domain dependent PO also. So while I am teaching VLSI design, I am also developing their communication skill, ethics, lifelong learning, individual teamwork, so that you have to justify how you are doing it. Next part is evaluation. In accreditation, it is called attainment of your course goal. So if I say the evaluation, now my evaluation is very much stringent. That since the outcome is defined, my evaluation only depends on the course outcome. I cannot say I have to set a paper, student who cannot pass, so there will be a 30 marks very easy, 20 marks very difficult, 30 marks very moderate, so this is covered in the class, so that will be there only in the exam, not that. Whatever the course goal you have set, you have to evaluate whether the student has achieved the course goal or not. Based on their achievement performance, you have to certify the students their grade or their competence. So I'll talk about the assessment and evaluation later on. So that's why there is an assessment and evaluation to different topic. And your course goal has to be assessed, not other things. Student cannot do it. I have to provide easy question. There is nothing called easy question and difficult question. Only desired questions or not. Desired question means your question must be related to the CO, course outcome. So if your CO is start from solving ability, I cannot test the student with a describing ability. So my PO is start with solving, analyzing, design. So my course outcome also start from solving, analyzing, design. If your course outcome, like the student will able to describe AC machine, then it is not mapped with any one of the PO. So that is not correct course outcome. So first, understand what is the appropriate course outcome for your course. So how to write course outcome is very important. So I am assuming that all of you know the Bloom's taxonomy. Is there any problem that you do not know Bloom's taxonomy? Write down the chat box if it is required to cover. Is it required? Just a minute, I will open the chat box first. So if it is required, the taxonomy of learning. So I cover little bit of one without any slide. I can share you the slide, but I can cover it. What is taxonomy of learning? It is called Bloom's taxonomy of learning. Bloom's taxonomy of learning. All of you know there is a three kinds of, you can say the learning structure. There are three parts. One is called cognitive domain learning, psychomotor domain learning, and effective domain learning. So cognitive domain learning are more or less we are dealing with in the class. In the lab, cognitive plus psychomotor, and overall it will be learning is effective domain. So what is cognitive domains of learning? That when the human cognition is involved. And there is a category, 6 category. Knowledge. Knowledge means only remembering the fact. Knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, evaluation. Knowledge, that is nothing but remembering facts and figures. The value of pi. This kind of cognitive skill is called knowledge level. What is the capital of India? All are, which is remembering only. Then have comprehension level, where you have to be able to comprehend that thing. Suppose you have learned, describe how the AC machine works like this way. So that is comprehension level. You have a little bit of understanding or comprehension. Then next level is application. Application is not that apply Newton's second law of motion. It's not application. Newton's second law of motion is a means. What you have to do is application. So application level is called when whatever the knowledge and comprehension you have acquired, when you apply in a new situation, then it is called application domain. What is the new situation? That suppose you know what is Newton's second law of motion. P equal to MF, you know. Okay. Then it is not that you have to know only P equal to MF. Now, if I know Newton's second law of motion, then I have to use it in my solving daily life problem. So if somebody asks you that suppose a force X is applied at the mass M after determine the acceleration of that body. So when you apply Newton's second law of motion in a new situation, then it is called application domains of learning. Then when you go for that application, then analysis. When you are able to analyze, suppose you are given a big problem, you can able to analyze it by part, and then you can break down the problem in a smaller problem, and you can able to analyze the problem. Then there is a called synthesis. So synthesis means reverse of analysis. Small pieces problems are given, you can put together, make a bigger problem. That is called synthesis. When you design a AC machine, it's a synthesis problem. Then, or you can say to simulate this one using computer. It's a synthesis problem. Then evaluation, which is called optimization. Given a design, optimize the design with respect to cost, with respect to performance. Those are called evaluation. So that is Bloom's taxonomy, cognitive domains of Bloom's taxonomy, which I will use extensively while the writing course outcome. Because most of the theory classes are depends on cognitive domains of taxonomy. Okay. Now I come to the psychomotor domain where it is required. I will give you the slides so that you can read it. Psychomotor domain, think about. Suppose you do not know psychomotor domain, basic, very simple things. Think about how do you learn riding bicycle. So when you start bicycle riding, what do you do? First, you watch somebody riding bicycle. So that is called imitation. So suppose I say I watch somebody is riding bicycle, that is called imitation. So psychomotor domain first lowest level is called imitation. I cannot imitate 100% with one person. So imitation has to be manipulated as per your individual way. So that's why second level is called manipulation. So imitation, manipulation. Third level is called precision. Precision means once I am able to manipulate, I try to riding bicycle. Then once I am able to bicycling it, I try to achieve its accuracy. That is called precision. Once I reach certain precision, I can articulate it. That's why it is called articulation. And last level is called naturalization. When you learn bicycling completely, then suppose after 1 month, if I give you a bicycle, you are able to ride it. Naturalization. So those are called psychomotor domains of learning. Those are useful when you writing the course outcome of the lab. Suppose latching a signal in electronics lab is requires some psychomotor control. Hence, or you can say the psychomotor practices. So those are required to prepare higher level on Bloom taxonomy questions. Okay, that I will cover during the assessment and evaluation. First, I cover how to write the course outcome and how to prepare the questions on higher level of Bloom taxonomy. Once you are able to write the outcome, then and there you are able to write the questions also, because every outcome must associated with a question. So that I will come. So how to Bloom's taxonomy nutshell I have covered. Now I come to the how to write the course outcome. So course outcome is written called when you write down. Oh, there are two things. We remember. One is called outcome. Another one is called objective. I think so. That slides I do not know. So what is sometimes you have a confusion. Course objective and course outcome. Even in NBA document also there is a course objective and course outcome. Actually, if a course objective written in instructional system design principle, which is called instructional objective, is actually course outcome. So I can say course instructional objective is nothing but a course outcome. And there is a nomenclature called course objective. If it is course objective and nothing but a teacher's goal about the course. So when you write down the course objective, it is the teacher's goal. It is not instructional system design. It is not follow instructional system design. You may write, I will cover this topic, student will know this, student will understand this. Those are course objective, not course outcome. When the same objective written in learner centric using instructional system design principle, which is called instructional system design principle, instructional objective. An instructional objective is nothing but a statement which is specific, measurable and achievable that students should able to do after the receiving instruction. So that means at the end of the course, what student will able to do, if you able to write it in specific, measurable, in achievable manner, then those objectives are called outcomes. So when you write it, when you course objective write in learner centric, specific, measurable and achievable, then it is called course outcome or instructional objective. It has three components: performance component, condition component, criteria component. It's very easy. Just think about what is performance component. What learner has to do, that is performance component.